Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome to Daily's 2A News. Today we're going to be talking about some new gun laws that are going to be taking effect come January of 2020. So let's get started. Now, over the next several years, Californians are going to be subjected to a whole new list of gun control, and that's all thanks to California Governor Gavin Newsom signing 15 new bills into law in 2019 alone. Now, some of these new laws are going to take effect as early as January 2020. That's what we're going to talk about today. Some of them are going to stretch out as far as 2024. Now, the one that's going to stretch out to 2024 is the one that I get the most questions on, and that has to do with California precursor parts. Now, if you don't know what a precursor part is, don't worry, you're not strange. Nobody knew what they were until California came up with the term. Essentially, what a precursor part is, it's any part that you would need to finish a working or functional firearm. So your barrels, your uppers, your buffers, any springs, guide rods, things that you might need in order to finish your assembly. Now, in the past, you could have those things shipped directly to your house. Now, what California wants you to do is have those things shipped to an FFL, and then you have to go to the FFL and conduct a background check, pay a fee, and then get your part. And that's going to be for every single part that you order. So that's going to take place in 2024, and I wanted to address that real quick. But now let's talk about what's going to be taking effect next year, 2020. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off with SB 61. SB 61 is a terrible new law. It's been called firearms rationing by the Firearms Policy Coalition, and I think that's an excellent descriptor because that's exactly what it does. Under current California law, if you want to buy a handgun, you can only buy one in a 30-day period. So if I was to go in and buy a handgun, I'd have to wait 30 days, well, more than 30 days, because I'd have to wait till that 30-day period is up before I could even fill out my paperwork to buy another one. So essentially 31 days. This new law expands on that by now including rifles and shotguns, well, basically any firearm, into that new law. So what they're doing, instead of just rationing handguns, now they're rationing all guns. So if you go in and you were to buy a pistol, you'd now have to wait 30 days before you could buy a rifle or a shotgun. Or if you went in and bought a rifle, you'd now have to wait 30 days before you bought that pistol or shotgun. Whatever the case is, you have to wait 30 days between each one of those purchases, and that starts in 2020. Now, this law also expands on an existing law that was just recently expanded in California, which makes it illegal for anybody under the age of 21 to purchase a firearm. So under current California law, obviously under federal law, if you're under the age of 21, you couldn't purchase a handgun. So they would buy rifles and shotguns and things like that. They'd still be able to defend themselves, go out and hunt and have a good time. Well, now under current California law, you can't do that anymore unless you have a valid hunting license or a permit. Well, this new law seeks to get rid of that provision, and now even if you have a valid hunting license, that still won't work. If you are under the age of 21, unless you are in the military or active duty or in law enforcement, I believe, you will not be able to purchase a firearm in California. You have had your Second Amendment rights stripped away from you until you're 21 years old. Now, the next law that's going to be taking effect is AB 196. AB 196 is going to be a problem for a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people who are not going to seek help for mental health issues because of this bill. They're going to be afraid that they're going to get stripped of their Second Amendment rights because if you are admitted under this new law to a mental health facility more than one time in a year, you will have your firearms rights stripped from you for life. For life. So on that second visit, if you are admitted to a mental health facility or committed to a mental health facility, you are going to lose your Second Amendment rights. Now, this is going to affect a lot of people who have mental health issues that can be resolved. These mental health issues might not be lifelong problems. There's a lot of people from the military that have PTSD. They have issues with that PTSD. They work through the PTSD. Maybe they get admitted to a mental health facility. They get the help that they need on the second time around because maybe the system failed them on the first time around. Second time around, they get it right. Their PTSD is under control now. They're able to function in daily life. It doesn't matter. You've been admitted more than once or committed more than once, and now you've lost your Second Amendment rights. So I see this being a problem because people are not going to seek the help that they probably need. So this is going to be more of a deterrent for mental health than actually addressing mental health. Now, the last one we're going to be talking about today is going to be AB 12. AB 12 seeks to expand on California's already expansive red flag laws. California has some of the toughest red flag laws, also known as gun violence restraining orders, in the entire country, and they also already let a large number of people file for these restraining orders. Well, with the new law, what it does is it actually expands again on the number and type of people who can file a gun violence restraining order against you, including employees, employers, teachers, law enforcement, and so many people who haven't even had contact with you over the past 6 months. If you have not seen this person in 6 months, they can still file for a restraining order, a gun violence restraining order, or red flag law against you. Another thing that this does is it expands the amount of time that this would take place from 1 year, up to 1 year, to 5 years. That means that you could essentially lose your firearms for a number of 5 years, and you couldn't purchase any new firearms within that time frame either. So they would essentially come into your house, forcefully take away your firearms without due process, and they could keep them for that 5-year period. And the person who filed that report against you may not have seen you for the past 6 months. So as you can see, AB 12 is going to be a big problem in California. There's a lot of people who will not give up their firearms, regardless of whether or not there's a law on the books, and this is going to lead to nothing but trouble. So again, it's more people can file against you, and now for a longer period of time without knowing you for a long period of time. So it is going to be a very, very bad law to take effect, just like every other red flag law across the entire country. You cannot take somebody's Second Amendment rights away without due process. So this is essentially another unconstitutional law out of the state of California. So unless something major happens, unless the political climate changes, or unless groups like the Firearms Policy Coalition can fight back in court against these things, this is what, unfortunately, I think law enforcement is going to enforce in the state of California. Unlike things that are happening in Virginia right now, where you have multiple sheriffs in multiple counties fighting back against all these unconstitutional laws, Californians, they don't have the same support from their local sheriffs. As a matter of fact, a lot of these local sheriffs in the state of California support these red flag laws and all these new gun control bills that are coming down the pipeline. So they don't have the same support in California that they do in other states. So it's going to be up to Californians to support the groups that support you. So make sure that you do that. Become active. If you haven't voted before, make sure you get out and you vote and replace the people that are basically doing this to you. Remove the tyrants. Anyway, I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button, little bell notification next to it. Have a great day.